Hello everyone, I'm Natasha, your host for today. If you're new here, I want you to know that we upload new English learning videos every day to help you improve your English faster. In today's lesson, you will not only build your English listening skills, but also strengthen your speaking and fluency. We're going to explore something very practical and very useful for every English learner. 125 English phrases that every intermediate learner must know to become fluent in English. These are real phrases that people use in daily life conversations, and learning them will make your English sound more natural and confident. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand these phrases, but also practice them with me through exercises that will help you speak smoothly and without hesitation. Whether you're ordering food, chatting with friends, asking questions, or sharing your opinions, these phrases will become part of your daily English toolbox. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any of our English learning lessons. So, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get started with our 125 powerful English phrases that will bring you closer to fluency. So, let's begin with our first set of phrases. As an intermediate learner, you already know a lot of English words and grammar, but the real key to fluency is being able to use phrases that fit naturally into conversation. Phrases are like ready-made building blocks. Instead of thinking word by word, you can just take the whole phrase and use it directly in real life. This makes your speech smoother, faster, and more natural. Let's start with one of the most common types of phrases you'll need: greetings and everyday openers. These are short but powerful because they set the tone of any conversation. For example, instead of always saying, "How are you?" you can expand your range with phrases like, "How's it going?" or "What have you been up to?" Notice how these phrases feel warmer and more conversational. Practice with me now. Repeat after me slowly. How's it going? What have you been up to? Excellent. Now imagine you meet a friend at a cafe. Instead of just saying hello, you can say, "Hey, long time no see. How have you been?" This instantly sounds more natural and friendly. Another useful phrase is, "I'm glad to see you." You can use it with friends, family, or colleagues to show warmth and positivity. Try saying it aloud now. "I'm glad to see you." Good. Notice how it adds emotion and makes your English more alive. Let's move on to phrases you can use when you don't understand something. In daily conversations, it's normal to miss a word or not catch something clearly. Instead of just saying "what" or "repeat," you can use smoother phrases like, "Sorry, I didn't catch that," or "Could you say that again, please?" These phrases make you sound polite and fluent at the same time. Practice with me. "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say that again, please?" Excellent. Imagine you are in a busy restaurant and the waiter tells you today's special but speaks too fast. You can simply say, "I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again?" This shows confidence and politeness together. Now let's practice phrases for giving your opinion. As an intermediate learner, you need to go beyond just saying, "I think," every time. Of course, "I think" is correct, but it can feel repetitive. Try these alternatives. "In my opinion," "from my point of view," The way I see it. Each of these sounds natural and will help you express yourself more like a fluent speaker. Say them with me. In my opinion, from my point of view, the way I see it. Great. Now imagine you are in a class discussion about technology. Instead of saying, I think technology is important, you can say, from my point of view, technology plays a big role in our lives today. Doesn't that sound smoother and more advanced? Let's also explore agreement phrases. In conversations, we often want to agree with someone politely, instead of always saying yes or I agree. Try phrases like, that's so true. I couldn't agree more. You're absolutely right. These are very natural and used often by native speakers. Repeat after me. That's so true. I couldn't agree more. You're absolutely right. Wonderful. Picture yourself in a conversation with a friend who says, learning English takes time and practice. You can respond with, you're absolutely right, it really does. This kind of phrase keeps the conversation flowing naturally. Now let's move on to disagreement phrases. Sometimes you won't fully agree with someone, but you still need to be polite. Instead of bluntly saying no or I disagree, you can use phrases like, I see your point, but I'm not so sure about that. That's one way to look at it, but these softening phrases make your English sound more respectful and professional. Practice with me now. I see your point, but I'm not so sure about that. That's one way to look at it, but excellent. Imagine a friend says, I think learning grammar is boring. You can reply, I see your point, but I think grammar is still useful for building strong English. Notice how it feels polite and diplomatic. Now let's add some everyday casual phrases. These are the ones that make you sound friendly and natural when chatting with people. For example, instead of just saying, okay, try, sounds good to me. Or, instead of saying, I understand, you can say, I get what you mean. Repeat after me. Sounds good to me. I get what you mean. Nice. Imagine someone suggests meeting tomorrow after work. Instead of only saying, okay, you can respond, sounds good to me, let's do it. This makes you sound more relaxed and natural in conversation. Here's another one. When you want to show interest in someone's story, don't just say, really, every time. Try, no way. That's interesting. Or, you're kidding. These short responses keep conversations lively and show that you're engaged. Practice aloud. No way. That's interesting. You're kidding. Excellent. For example, your friend says, I just got a new job in another city. You can respond, no way, that's amazing. This shows your excitement and interest. Now let's go into polite request phrases. As an intermediate learner, you should avoid sounding too direct. Instead of, give me your phone, you can say, could you give me your phone, please? Or instead of, close the window, you can say, would you mind closing the window? These phrases are very important for sounding polite and fluent. Practice with me. Could you give me your phone, please? Would you mind closing the window? Great. Now imagine you're in an office and the window is open. Instead of saying, close the window, you ask, would you mind closing the window? The listener will feel more respected, and your English will sound smoother. Let's also look at phrases for showing gratitude. Of course, you already know thank you, but there are richer phrases you can use. For example, I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. Thanks a million. These give your gratitude more emotion and naturalness. Say them with me. I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. Thanks a million. Good. Imagine your colleague helps you finish a project. Instead of just saying thank you can say, I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. This expresses deeper gratitude. Now let's practice phrases for giving compliments. Compliments are common in English and help build friendly connections. You can say, you did a great job. I love your idea. That's impressive. These phrases are short, but they carry strong positive energy. Repeat after me. You did a great job. I love your idea. That's impressive. Wonderful. Imagine your friend shows you their artwork. Instead of just saying good, you say, that's impressive. You did a great job. This makes your English sound more encouraging and friendly. Let's also add phrases for apologizing. Instead of only saying sorry, you can use, I'm really sorry about that. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to. These variations sound more natural in different situations. Say them aloud. I'm really sorry about that. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to. Great. Imagine you accidentally bump into someone on the street. Instead of only saying sorry, you can say, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to. This shows sincerity and politeness. And now, let's explore phrases for closing conversations. Sometimes, you need to end a talk politely. Instead of only saying goodbye, you can say, it was nice talking to you. I'll catch up with you later. Let's stay in touch. These are friendly and very natural. Practice with me. It was nice talking to you. I'll catch up with you later. Let's stay in touch. Excellent. Imagine you finish a conversation with a classmate after school. Instead of saying just bye, you can say, it was nice talking to you. Let's stay in touch. This leaves a warm impression. Now let's move to phrases you can use when you need more time to think during conversations. As an intermediate learner, sometimes you know what you want to say, but you need a few seconds to organize your thoughts. Instead of staying silent or saying, you can use filler phrases that native speakers use all the time. For example, well, let me think. That's a good question. I haven't thought about that before. These phrases buy you time while keeping the conversation smooth. Practice with me now. Well, let me think. That's a good question. I haven't thought about that before. Excellent. Imagine someone asks you, what's your biggest dream in life? And you're not ready to answer. Instead of panicking, you can say, that's a good question. Let me think. This sounds natural and gives you space to prepare your answer. Another important group of phrases is for expressing surprise. Make your speech sound more lively. Instead of just saying, wow, you can say, that's unbelievable. I can't believe it. Are you serious? These are often used in daily conversations. Repeat after me. That's unbelievable. I can't believe it. Are you serious? Good. For example, your friend tells you they won a big prize. You can reply, That's unbelievable. I can't believe it. This shows emotion and keeps the conversation engaging. Now let's add some phrases for checking information. Sometimes you want to confirm if you understood correctly. Instead of saying what or say again, you can say, do you mean? So what you're saying is, just to be clear. These help you confirm politely while showing that you're paying attention. Say them aloud with me. Do you mean? So what you're saying is, just to be clear, great. For example, if a teacher gives instructions and you're not sure, you can say, just to be clear, do we need to submit the assignment today or tomorrow? This is polite and effective. Let's now practice phrases for showing interest in others. Conversations are not just about talking, they are about listening and showing that you care. Instead of only saying okay, you can use phrases like, That's amazing, tell me more. Really? What happened next? I'd love to hear more about that. These phrases make the other person feel valued. Practice with me. That's amazing. Tell me more. Really? What happened next? I'd love to hear more about that. Wonderful. Imagine your friend is telling you about a holiday trip. Instead of saying just, okay, you say, that's amazing. Tell me more. This keeps the conversation alive and interesting. Now, let's learn phrases for making suggestions. Instead of always saying, let's do this, you can use softer, more natural phrases like, how about we? Why don't we? We could always try. These are very common in daily life and make your English sound more cooperative. Repeat after me. How about we? Why don't we? We could always try. Excellent. For example, imagine you and your friends are deciding where to eat. You can say, how about we try that new restaurant near the park? This sounds natural and friendly. Another key set of phrases are for showing you agree partly, but not completely. Instead of just saying yes or no, you can use middle ground phrases like, I see what you mean, but maybe. That's true. But on the other hand, you've got a point, but I think. These are great for discussions. Say them with me. I see what you mean, but maybe. That's true, but on the other hand. You've got a point, but I think. Good. Imagine someone says, studying vocabulary is enough to become fluent. You can reply, That's true, but on the other hand, practicing speaking is also very important. This makes you sound thoughtful and fluent. Now let's practice phrases for showing excitement. You already know I'm happy, but you can expand your range with I'm so excited about this. I can't wait. This is going to be great. These add energy to your conversations. Repeat after me. I'm so excited about this. I can't wait. This is going to be great. Excellent. For example, your friend invites you to a weekend party. You can reply, I can't wait. This is going to be great. Your English will sound full of life. Let's also learn phrases for calming situations. Sometimes you need to reassure someone. Instead of just saying, it's okay, you can say, don't worry, everything will be fine. Take it easy. It's not the end of the world. These are very natural in daily life. Practice with me. Don't worry, everything will be fine. Take it easy. It's not the end of the world. Good. Imagine your friend is stressed about an exam. You can say, "Take it easy. It's not the end of the world. You'll do great." This feels supportive and fluent. And now let's look at some transition phrase. Says, these help you connect ideas smoothly when you speak. Instead of stopping awkwardly, you can use phrases like, by the way, speaking of which. That reminds me. These are powerful for making your speech flow. Say them aloud with me. By the way, speaking of which. That reminds me. Excellent. Imagine you're talking about movies with a friend, and suddenly you remember something. You can say, speaking of which, have you seen the new movie that just came out? This keeps the conversation smooth. Finally, let's add some phrases for ending conversations politely in formal situations. For example, at work or in a meeting, instead of just saying goodbye, you can say, thank you for your time. I look forward to our next meeting. It was a pleasure talking with you. These are professional and polite. Repeat after me. Thank you for your time. I look forward to our next meeting. It was a pleasure talking with you. Great. Imagine you finish a job interview. Instead of saying bye, you can say, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure talking with you. I look forward to our next meeting. This leaves a professional impression. Now let's move into phrases you can use to show curiosity. Being curious in English conversations makes you sound engaged and interested in others. Instead of only asking why or how, you can expand your questions with phrases like, what made you decide that? How did that happen? What's the story behind that? These are great for deeper conversations. Practice with me. What made you decide that? How did that happen? What's the story behind that? Wonderful. For example, if your friend tells you they started learning guitar, instead of saying, why, you can ask, what made you decide that? This makes your English sound friendly and natural. Another useful set of phrases is for giving advice. As an intermediate learner, you should move beyond just saying you should every time. Try phrases like, if I were you, I'd. My advice would be to, have you thought about it? What he? These are very natural and polite ways to give suggestions. Say them aloud with me. If I were you, I'd. My advice would be to, A. Have you thought about? Excellent. Imagine your friend is nervous about speaking English in public. Instead of saying, you should practice, you can say, if I were you, I'd practice with small groups first. That sounds softer and more supportive. Now let's look at phrases for making plans. Instead of always saying, let's meet tomorrow, you can use more natural phrases like, want to catch up tomorrow? Are you free this weekend? Let's set a time to meet. These are common in daily life conversations. Repeat after me. Want to catch up tomorrow? Are you free this weekend? Let's set a time to meet. Good. Imagine you want to see a friend. Instead of just saying, let's meet tomorrow, you can say, want to catch up tomorrow? This makes your English sound more like a native speaker. Next, let's practice phrases for showing empathy. Empathy means showing that you understand someone's feelings. Instead of just saying, I understand, you can use phrases like, I know how you feel. That must be tough. I can imagine what you're going through. These make your English sound caring and supportive. Say them with me. I know how you feel. That must be tough. I can imagine what you're going through. Excellent. Imagine your friend says they failed an exam. Instead of just replying, I understand, you can say, that must be tough. I know how you feel. This shows real empathy in English. Now, let's add some phrases for storytelling. When you share stories, you need connectors that keep the listener interested. Instead of only saying, then, try using all of a sudden, before I knew it, and guess what happened next. These phrases make your stories come alive. Repeat after me. All of a sudden. Before I knew it. And guess what happened next? Great. For example, if you are telling a story about your trip, you can say, all of a sudden, it started raining so hard. And guess what happened next? We got completely soaked. This makes your English sound vivid and interesting. Let's now practice phrases for showing certainty. Instead of only saying, I'm sure, you can expand with phrases like, I'm positive about that. There's no doubt in my mind. I can say for certain. These are stronger ways to express confidence. Say them aloud. I'm positive about that. There's no doubt in my mind. I can say for certain. Excellent. Imagine your colleague asks if the project will be ready. Instead of just saying, I'm sure, you can say, there's no doubt in my mind, it will be ready by tomorrow. That sounds more confident and fluent. Now let's explore phrases for showing uncertainty. Sometimes you don't want to sound too direct. Instead of saying, I don't know, you can use phrases like, I'm not quite sure. I'll have to check on that. It's hard to say. These phrases sound more polite and fluent. Practice with me. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to check on that. It's hard to say. Wonderful. Imagine someone asks, when will the teacher arrive? Instead of only saying, I don't know, you can say, I'm not quite sure, but I think she'll be here soon. That sounds much better. Now let's add some everyday emotional phrases. Emotions are part of daily life, so let's expand your vocabulary for expressing them. For happiness, you can say, I'm over the moon. I'm thrilled about it. That made my day. For sadness, you can say, I'm feeling down. That really upset me. I'm heartbroken. These give you variety in real conversations. Repeat after me. I'm over the moon. I'm thrilled about it. That mad? My day. Good. And now, the sad ones. I'm feeling down. That really upset me. I'm heartbroken. Excellent. For example, if your friend gives you a surprise gift, you can say, wow, I'm over the moon. This made my day. On the other hand, if you miss an important event, you can say, I'm really feeling down about it. This shows a deeper emotional range in English. Let's also practice phrases for politeness in shops or restaurants. Instead of always saying, I want, which sounds too direct, you can say, I'd like. Could I have? I'll take. These are polite and natural for ordering food or buying something. Say them with me. I'd like. Could I have? I'll take. Great. For example, in a cafe you can say, I'd like a cup of coffee, please. Or in a store you can say, I'll take this one, thank you. These sound polite and confident at the same time. Now let's go into phrases for expressing preferences. Instead of always saying, I like, try expanding with, I'd rather, I prefer, I'm more into. These give your English more variety. Repeat after me. I'd rather. I prefer. I'm more into. Wonderful. For example, if someone asks you tea or coffee instead of just saying, I like tea, you can say, I'd rather have tea. I prefer it over coffee. This sounds smooth and natural. Finally, let's learn phrases for small talk. Small talk is very important in English, especially with people you don't know well. You can use phrases like, lovely weather today, isn't it? Have you been keeping busy? So, what do you do? These are great conversation starters. Say them aloud with me. Lovely weather today, isn't it? Have you been keeping busy? So what do you do? Great. Imagine you meet someone new at an event. Instead of staying silent, you can start with, have you been keeping busy? This makes you sound confident and sociable. Now, let's continue with phrases you can use when you want to encourage someone. Encouragement is an important part of communication, especially when friends, classmates, or colleagues feel uncertain. Instead of just saying, good luck, you can expand your expressions. Try, you've got this. I believe in you. Don't worry, you'll do great. These phrases are very supportive and natural. Practice with me now. You've got this. I believe in you. Don't worry, you'll do great. Excellent. For example, if your friend is about to take an exam, instead of only saying, good luck, you can say, don't worry, you'll do great. I believe in you. That sounds warmer and more motivating. Another useful set of phrases is for congratulating others. Celebrating achievements in English helps you build stronger connections. Instead of always saying congratulations, you can try well done. I'm so proud of you. That's fantastic news. These add variety and emotion. Say them aloud with me. Well done. I'm so proud of you. That's fantastic news. Wonderful. For example, if your colleague gets a promotion, you can say, that's fantastic news. Well done. I'm so proud of you. This makes your English sound natural and supportive. Now let's look at phrases for offering help. Instead of only saying, can I help, you can use phrases like, do you need a hand? Would you like me to help you with that? Is there anything I can do for you? These are more natural and show willingness. Practice with me. Do you need a hand? Would you like me to help you with that? Is there anything I can do for you? Great. For example, if you see a friend carrying heavy bags, instead of just saying, can I help, you can say, do you need a hand with those? That sounds friendlier and more fluent. Now let's practice phrases for asking for permission. Instead of only saying, can I? And you can use more polite alternatives like, is it okay if I? Would it be all right if I? Do you mind if I? These sound soft and polite in English. Say them aloud with me. Is it okay if I? Would it be all right if I? Do you mind if I? Excellent. For example, if you want to leave a little early from class, instead of saying, can I leave? You can say, would it be all right if I left a bit early today? That's more respectful and fluent. Let's now add some phrases for responding to bad news. Sometimes, someone may share something sad with you, and you want to show sympathy. Instead of just saying, sorry, you can say, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's really unfortunate. My heart goes out to you. These sound gentle and supportive. Repeat after me. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's really unfortunate. My heart goes out to you. Wonderful. For example, if your friend says their pet is sick, instead of just saying sorry, you can say, "I'm so sorry to hear that. My heart goes out to you." This shows compassion in English. Now let's practice phrases for expressing joy for others. These are great when someone shares happy news. Instead of only saying, "That's good," you can use, "I'm so happy for you." "That's wonderful to hear." "That makes me smile." These sound warm and genuine. Say them with me. "I'm so happy for you." "That's wonderful to hear." "That makes me smile." Good. For example, if your friend says they just passed their driving test, instead of saying, "That's good," you can say, "I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful to hear." This makes your English sound more connected. Let's also learn some phrases for showing politeness in formal conversations. These are important for work, school, or professional situations. Instead of saying, "I want," you can say, "I would appreciate it if." Instead of saying, "Tell me," you can say, "Could you kindly?" And instead of saying, "Wait," you can say, "May I ask you to hold on a moment?" These are polite and professional. Practice with me. I would appreciate it if. Could you kindly? May I ask you to hold on a moment? Excellent. For example, in a workplace email or meeting, instead of saying, "Tell me the details," you can say, "Could you kindly share the details with me?" That sounds more professional and fluent. Now let's add some phrases for expressing uncertainty in opinions. Instead of only saying, "Maybe," you can try, "It could be." "I suppose so." "I'm not completely sure, but." These are useful in discussions when you want to sound natural but not too direct. Say them aloud. "It could be." "I suppose so." "I'm not completely sure, but." Great. Imagine someone asks, "Do you think it will rain today?" Instead of only saying, "Maybe," you can say, "I suppose so, but I'm not completely sure." That sounds more fluent and conversational. Now let's look at phrases for asking for clarification in conversations. Instead of saying, "What does that mean?" all the time, you can vary with, "Could you explain that a little more?" "What do you mean by that?" "Can you give me an example?" These are polite and useful. Practice with me. "Could you explain that a little more?" "What do you mean by that?" "Can you give me an example?" Wonderful. For example, if someone uses a new phrase you don't know, instead of saying, "What?" you can say, "Can you give me an example?" That shows curiosity and makes your English sound smoother. Let's now practice phrases for giving yourself time in conversations. Sometimes you need a second to think. Instead of staying silent, you can say, "Let me see." That's an interesting point. Give me a moment to think about that. These help you manage conversations naturally. Say them with me. Let me see. That's an interesting point. Give me a moment to think about that. Great. Imagine someone asks you, "What's your opinion about climate change?" And you need time. You can reply, "That's an interesting point. Give me a moment to think about that." This keeps the conversation flowing smoothly. Now let's continue with phrases you can use when making phone calls. Speaking on the phone in English can feel different because you don't see the person's face. Instead of only saying hello, you can start politely with, "Hello, this is Natasha speaking." Or if you're calling someone, you can say, "Hi, may I speak to?" And if you're answering a work call, you can use, "Good morning, how can I help you?" These phrases make your phone conversations smoother. Practice with me now. Hello, this is your name speaking. Hi, may I speak to? Good morning, how can I help you? Excellent. Imagine you call your friend's home and their parent answers. Instead of saying, Is John there? You can politely say, Hi, may I speak to John, please? That sounds respectful and fluent. Now let's add some phrases for dealing with misunderstandings. In real life, communication isn't always perfect. Instead of just saying no or wrong, you can say, Actually, what I meant was, I think you misunderstood me. Let me put it another way. These help you correct the situation politely. Say them aloud. Actually, what I meant was, I think you misunderstood me. Let me put it another way. Great. For example, if someone thinks you said Friday but you meant Friday next week, you can clarify by saying, Actually, what I meant was next Friday. That sounds polite and clear. Let's now practice phrases for everyday shopping situations. When you go shopping, instead of just saying, How much, you can say, How much does this cost? Could you tell me the price of this? Do you have this in a different size or color? These are very common and polite in shops. Practice with me. How much does this cost? Could you tell me the price of this? Do you have this in a different size or color? Wonderful. Imagine you're at a clothing store and you want another size. Instead of only saying, Do you have medium? You can say, Do you have this in a medium size, please? That sounds smoother and polite. Now let's look at phrases for expressing agreement in casual conversations. Sometimes we want to show we agree with a friend in a friendly way. Instead of just saying, Yes, you can use exactly. That's right. I was just thinking the same thing. These are short, natural responses. Say them aloud with me. Exactly. That's right. I was just thinking the same thing. Great. For example, your friend says learning English is easier if you practice every day. You can reply, Exactly. I was just thinking the same thing. That feels smooth and natural. Now, let's practice phrases for being polite in restaurants. Instead of saying, Give me water, you can politely say, Could I have some water, please? Or instead of, I want the chicken, you can say, I'll have the chicken, please. And when you're finished eating, you can say, Could we have the check, please? These phrases make you sound polite and natural in dining situations. Repeat after me. Could I have some water, please? I'll have the chicken, please. Could we have the check, please? Excellent. Imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter asks for your order. Instead of saying, I want pizza, you can say, I'll have the pizza, please. That's smoother and polite. Another important group of phrases is for asking about time. Instead of just saying, What time is it? You can expand with, Could you tell me the time, please? Do you know what time it is? What time does it start? These are useful in daily life. Say them with me. Could you tell me the time, please? Do you know what time it is? What time does it start? Wonderful. For example, if you're waiting for a movie instead of asking time, you can say, Do you know what time it starts? That sounds more polite and conversational. Let's now add some phrases for expressing possibilities. Instead of always saying, maybe, try these alternatives. There's a chance that it might be possible. Who knows, maybe. These are more colorful and natural in conversation. Practice aloud. There's a chance that it might be possible. Who knows, maybe. Great. Imagine your friend asks if you'll join the trip next month. Instead of just saying, maybe, you can say, there's a chance that I can join. I'll let you know soon. That feels smoother. Now, let's practice phrases for expressing preferences in daily choices. Instead of only saying, I like, try, I'm a big fan of. I really enjoy. I'd rather go with. These give your English more variety and fluency. Say them with me. I'm a big fan of. I really enjoy. I'd rather go with. Excellent. For example, if someone asks tea or coffee, instead of just saying, I like tea, you can say, I'm a big fan of tea. I really enjoy it in the morning. That feels more complete and fluent. Now let's add some phrases for ending phone calls politely. Instead of just saying bye, you can say, it was nice talking to you. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for calling. These are polite and natural. Repeat after me. It was nice talking to you. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for calling. Great. For example, if a friend calls to check in, instead of ending with just bye, you can say, it was nice talking to you. I'll talk to you soon. That's warm and fluent. Finally, let's practice some phrases for showing excitement and enthusiasm in everyday life. Instead of just saying, great, you can use these. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be fun. These keep your English lively and full of energy. Say them aloud. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be fun. Excellent. For example, if someone invites you to a weekend trip, you can say, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. That makes your English sound full of life. Now, let's move into phrases you can use when traveling. Travel English is very practical because it helps you in airports, hotels, and new places. Instead of only saying, where is, you can use, could you tell me how to get to? Is this the right way to? How far is it from here? These sound polite and natural when asking for directions. Practice with me. Could you tell me how to get to? Is this the right way to? How far is it from here? Excellent. For example, if you are in a new city and want to find the train station, instead of saying, where is train station? You can say, could you tell me how to get to the train station? That's smoother and more polite. Now let's add phrases for checking into hotels. Instead of just saying, room, you can say, I have a reservation under the name. Could I check in, please? What time is checkout? These are common and important when traveling. Say them aloud. I have a reservation under the name. Could I check in, please? What time is checkout? Great. For example, when you arrive at a hotel, instead of only saying reservation, you can politely say,